Bob, we're really glad to have you back here. What does it feel like to be back here in Maryland for the Preakness?
Oh, I love Baltimore. It's my favorite of the three classics. You know, it's the most fun classic because the pressure of the Derby's over. You have a Derby winner, so it's all about, everybody's coming here to have. It's a big party, and people want to come here, have fun, and see the Derby horse, the Derby winner run, and that's what the Preakness is all about.
Of course, we'll start with National Treasure, your big horse in the Preakness, John on the rail. We're already discussing sort of the application of blinkers. What is your thought process there?
Well, I think he's a horse that runs in spurts, and we thought maybe the blinkers, maybe he'll focus a little more. And I talked to Johnny Velasquez, the jockey, about it, and I asked him, I called him, says, I was thinking about putting a little blinker on him. I worked him with blinker, and he thought it wouldn't hurt him because when he gets in between horses, he's still immature. He's still that he hasn't filled into that. He's a tall, his frame, and so we're trying something a little bit different. We need to find about 3 lengths. We need to find 3 lengths like tomorrow, So we're working on that, and he should run well. I mean, Jimmy said and the rider said he's been moving over the track. It's it's really soft and here, and so I've been fond of this surface here. So they go over it really well.
And pace-wise, thinking of sending him, of course, we do have the Scratch Your First mission as well, which kind of changes the complexion of the race.
Yeah, I don't know. The break is important. The you can be in a great post, but he leaves the gate okay, not as strong, and so he needs to get running. And I think Johnny, once he gets his, they get him away from there if he breaks clean. I hate being in the one hole because usually they miss a half a step, or I just don't like the one. I remember drawing it with American Pharaoh, and everything was going so well, and then he drew the one, and I was just fretting about it. And then after watching him turn for home, I was thinking, why did I fret all week about this? But if you have the best horse, but we're not talking about American Pharaoh here, but. I think it's still going to be a good race, and it's going to be exciting, and to see if, like I said, it's all about the Derby winner, and we're always, we're trying to see if we can, beat the Derby winner, So it'll be a fun race.
You just got in. What did you see from National Treasure this morning?
He went nice. He's one of these horses. He's always been a little high strung in the morning. It's real quiet here, so he's been training well. I spoke to my rider. He says he's been really likes the surface here, and he's been, he doesn't get worked up. There's not a lot of horses out there. At home, he gets a little bit worked up, and but he's been fine.
And talking about American Pharaoh, you already mentioned one of your 7 Preakness winners. Look, if you got an 8th, it will be a record. How special would that be for you?
I really don't think about records. I've never been, if it happens, it happens. But more importantly, I like to see all my horses run really well. I like to see them all win.
And if you think back to those greats that have won this race, what would be some of your favorite memories here at Pimlico?
Well, I mean, I've had some. The reason I've won it so many times, I've always had the best horse. The best horse usually wins this race. We had. I think the Silver Charm race was really the most. It was like I just won the Derby, and I was just flying high, and we were coming into the Preakness, and to me it was like, if he wins, fine. If he doesn't, hey, I don't care. I won the Kentucky Derby, And then he won, and I thought he got beat. I was watching the wrong finish line. I was watching before, and everybody said he won, and I remember they had me on television, and I was telling the owner, Bob Lewis, we won. He says, I don't think we won. Just relax. Don't embarrass yourself. We didn't win. And then he turns around. Nick Zito was behind me, and he says, Bob Lewis says, Nick, did he win? Yes, he won, Bob. Okay, so, and then when I saw the replay, I was watching I was so nervous, It was like, but that was an exciting race because you had they came from the Derby. It was a short field in the Derby. See, and that's the thing. I think it was like 12 or 14 horses in the Derby, so they all came back and ran in the Preakness. So there was a rivalry going on. There was a big rivalry going on, and so that made it. Now there's not that much. A lot of guys, there's so many, and they have bad trips. They just go to Belmont and wait. But in those days there was a big rivalry with Free House and the other horse that ran second in the Derby. I can't think of his name, but huh? Captain Bodgett, yeah. As a matter of fact, if Gary said he was beat, Free House had him beat, and when he felt Captain Bodgett come to him, that's when Silver Charm jumped up and won that race. So that was probably the most exciting race. And point given, he was the favorite. I thought he'd win the Triple Crown, and he just didn't run in the Derby, and it was so disappointing. He came here and he won that, and then won the Belmont by 12. It was sickening, because I thought that was going to be my Triple Crown horse. And Real Quiet was really exciting. I knew he was in the 11. They said, oh, he can't win from the 11. He ran huge, but him and Victory Gallop, they were just battling. There was a rivalry going on with them, and so and it was good to come with Looking at Lucky, who was the Derby favorite, just completely got wiped out. And then he came back and won redeemed himself, won the Preakness for those clients that were So it's they're fun, they're exciting. All the classics. I mean, they're so exciting, and that's why it's so important that the tradition of the classics is what keeps the game going. And so and that's why it's all about the Derby winner. It's all about Mage, and these fans here. They're here to watch Mage run. We're not here to watch National Treasure. They want to see Mage win the Preakness so they can go on for the Belmont and keep the party going.
Bob, you're talking about the tradition and the rivalries across the classics, and obviously, there's only one Derby runner in this race, and some of the thinking has changed, it seems, between races. Do you think that we should be moving or looking at Preakness as running later and changing the calendar a little bit?
No, we've thought about that, but the tradition. It's very important because that's what makes a Triple Crown. I think people wouldn't be as important because it's a challenge. It's challenging, and a lot of people, they don't run their horses back because maybe they it's. You got to remember, just to get into the Derby, we run them a lot just to get them in there, and so I think they would run them back if they felt their horses came out of it. If they're tired or whatever. And the Derby with 20 horses, you get a rough trip. A lot of them, they just, they need that extra time. But back in the day, look at Secretariat. There wasn't that many horses would run back. So it was just him and Sham, just trying to, beat each other. But it's always going to be an important race, and as long as the Derby winner's in here, that's the most important thing. It's very important that the Derby winner's in the race.
Well, 50 years since Secretariat actually won.
I know it.
So it's
I'm still waiting for my Secretary.
Quick question about Faiza as well. Your big filly coming up today. Faiza. Excuse me. Faiza in the Black Eyed Susan today. How does she travel over?
Yes, she's doing really well. She's a horse that, she's been running against the same horses, and so now she's, taking on a different group. But, I think I'm really looking forward to watching her run. And so she's really smart. She handles everything really well. And I think a mile and eighth is going to be a good distance for her. I've never... In all her races, she's handled 2 turns really well, and so I'm looking forward to her running.
I definitely am too. Quickly, some of your other runners as well, Having a Meltdown and Chick Lang. What spurred the turn back in distance?
Having a Meltdown, he's a sprinter. I took him to Saudi. He was a little bit he ran hard, and he drew the one. He's an extremely fast horse. So I got him ready really quick for this, and so I brought him along. And I have Arabian Lion, who he ran really well in the Lexington Stakes. It looks like he was just going to win, just open lanes, and he got caught. I don't know what it is about that horse. I don't know if he just stopped running. I'm trying to figure him out, his distance. If he's a heavy, strong horse, but hopefully he'll run well. I want to give him another chance at a mile and 6. I was almost thinking of running him in the Preakness, and if the race hadn't failed, I probably would have thrown him in the Preakness. But mile and 16th, I thought maybe that's a good distance for him.
Thank you so much. That's all I need.
Okay,
Thank
we got it.
All right.